everybody, welcome to the I Am IT Geek YouTube channel. My name is Shabazz and as ever I am the IT Geek. Welcome back to another Microsoft Entra deep dive episode, and we are well within the series now, deep into the series. This is probably episode 8 I think, and we've covered so much ground already. I want to thank everybody for this ongoing support and for the comments and for entering the competitions. You know, I've been doing book giveaways. I've got another one that I'm going to go into shortly. So we are actually, this is a 3-part topic that we're covering at the moment around protection and security. This is part 2. But before I jump into that, I am actually, which one shall I give away? I've got so many. Tell you what, I'll give away this one. This one. So there we go. I've got so many books. So today we are going to be giving away Simplifying Hybrid Cloud Adoption with AWS by Frankie Costa Negro. So again, I've done a review of this book, and I'll put just a link to that book review in the description. So I know this is we're looking at a Microsoft Cloud video. I'm giving away an AWS book, but it's still a very good book. And for anybody interested in it, it's you know, it's no use to me. So I've got the book. So I thought I'd give it to someone who wants it. So same rules apply as the other giveaways. You need to be a subscriber first of all. You need to like this video, comment this video, hashtag IamITGeek, and then share this video, this specific video, on your socials, either Twitter or LinkedIn, with the hashtag IamITGeek. And then I'll pick a winner at random, and I will contact them to send them this in the post. So, you know, that's the 4th book I've given away. So hopefully everyone's enjoying the giveaways. So let's jump straight into the presentation and see what we are covering today. So, as mentioned, this is the Microsoft Entra Deep Dive series. And just a bit of a recap what we looked at. So it was the Protect and Secure, as Azure Active Directory Protect and Secure Part 1 episode. Last time we looked at conditional access. We spoke about identity protection, showed that, and then we went into a security center and explained what that was and why and how you can use it. And then again throughout I kind of spoke about best practices and some use cases I've done in the past. In this episode, this is part 2 of the topic of protection and security. It's a 3-parter. There's lots to cover, as you saw in the last episode in that portal. It's a long list of stuff we need to cover. So we're going to look at identity secure score first. Then we're going to cover multi-factor authentication. Finally, we're going to look at authentication methods, as well as best practices and use cases, you know, from my own experience. So that first topic is going to be identity score. Now, we kind of touched on this with the security center last episode. Well, let's dig a bit deeper into it. So let's hop over to the portal and take a look. Welcome back. So here we are in the Microsoft Entra Azure Active Directory portal, and it's all the way down to Protect and Secure, and we're looking at Identity Secure Score. So Microsoft Secure Score for Identity represents your organization's security posture essentially. It gives you the opportunity to improve it. So as you can see, mine is abysmal. And what this comparison is actually doing, this is quite interesting. So from a tenant perspective, I am classed as a 1 to 100 person company, obviously just me. So this is comparing me against other tenants that are hosted in Microsoft that are the same size. So their average is about 56.84% secure score. So I'm well low. I'm less than half of that. So I obviously need to do quite a bit to improve that. So that's the first thing it kind of tells you, and it gives you a score history over the 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, or 7 days. So mine hasn't improved since I got it. Very bad, I know. Practice what you preach, innit? So what we have when we go down here is it actually tells us the improvement actions. Again, this is very similar to Security Center, if you remember. That was giving us remediation actions that we could do and kind of how to improve. So if we kind of, just let me increase this a little bit. So if we actually use least privileged administrator roles, that'll increase our score impact by 1.64%. So it's low user impact, low implementation impact. So we can actually click on that, and it'll not on the left here, it'll actually give us the current score, the max score, and the status. So that's kind of completed. So we don't need to do anything on that. Again, we can go down throughout all these. Let's find one that I probably don't have. Is that one completed? Can't remember. So there we go. So this is a good one. So enable policy. Let me increase that again. Enable policy to block legacy authentication. That's got a big impact. That's 13.11%. It's the user impact's moderate, and then the implementation is moderate as well. So let me click on that. So that'll increase my score by 13.11%, max score being 8. But then it says it's to address, so I've not resolved it yet. So again, it tells you what the impact is, and then it explains what you're about to change, and then it tells you how to change it as well. So again, very, very good that it doesn't just tells you what you've completed, what's not complete. You can actually go through the columns here and look at, put the status in as well. So we can actually, let's change this so it's like that. Okay, implementation, and there you go. So we can actually look at all, so I only completed those, everything else is to address. So really, really good way of looking at your improved actions. You can download this into a report if you need to show management. But as we go, we can see that by doing a few things, I could really increase my my percentage from 25.41% to say closer to 50. So again, something like that. That was 8 points. So that alone would enable me to get to 33. If I was to complete multi-factor authentication for all users, that'd increase it by 9 more, so that'd be up to 40s. Require MFA for admin roles, that'd be another 10, so there I'm already up to 50. Self-service password reset, that wouldn't be too much, but protect all users with sign risk policy, that'd be probably another 8 or 7. So again, really good way to increase your score and look at kind of where your posture is not very good security wise. So I think I need to action some of these. So I might do that offline. So let's jump back. So that's essentially identity secure score. Let's jump back into the presentation, see what the next topic is. Welcome back. So here we are in the presentation, and the next topic we need to talk about is multi-factor authentication. So kind of covered a little bit of this in sort of in the conditional access, where it's where you kind of create a policy to enforce MFA for users. But let's jump back into the portal, look at the multi-factor authentication tab and see what we can do. Welcome back. So here we are back in the multi-factor authentication tab here. Well, we're back in the Microsoft Entra Admin Center, specifically Azure Active Directory, specifically Protect and Secure and the Microsoft Authentication tab. Now this is all the MFA settings. So this isn't us actually configuring MFA. That's done through the conditional access. You enforce conditional access to force people to do MFA. But what we do have here is all the settings around it. So we've got account lockout here, so you can temporarily lock out accounts in the MFA service if they are if you've got too many denied authentication attempts in a row. So if you try to do MFA and it gets denied a few times, you can actually set a number of the number of multi-factor authentication denials to trigger an account lockout. So you could set that to 5, for example. The minutes until account lockout counter is reset, you could set that to 3 minutes, and minutes until account is automatically unlocked. So that could be maybe 10 minutes. So with this, again, I don't think, in my own opinion, it's not a best. There's no sort of best practice, or because I've done this for different clients, but it's been different every time. This is all dependent on your organization's security policy. So if they have a security policy, not just for cloud, but in general, again, a lot of companies that have transitioned from on-premises to cloud will have some sort of security policy. Every company should, but it really should be defined in there. And this is what your company, again, because every company is different. You've got people in manufacturing, you've got people in public sector, got NHS, government. Everyone has different security risks and security needs. So there's no real best practice, in my opinion, for this. There's no kind of one size fits all. It's all dependent on your security policy. So go to block and unblock users. This gives you, again, you can add users you want to receive or you want to block. So a blocked user will not receive MFA authentication requests. Authentication attempts to that user will be automatically denied. So say if you've got a security risk on a user, you can block them straight away. Fraud alert. This is for when, say, a user themselves can submit a fraud alert, and that you can set that to automatically block their account. So this is always good example. This is if someone's on holiday, they're not at work, but on their MFA, on the Microsoft Authenticator app, they get a prompt to say, do you want to allow this MFA prompt? I'm like, oh, well, I'm not at work, that's not me, deny, and then they can actually, that's a good chance someone's tried to hack them, so they can do they can log submit a fraud alert. So mine's turned off, but you can enable this. These are notifications. So again, in the event of a kind of a fraud alert or a lockout, you can send an email address to an administrator or a group of administrators, or even a service request. You can the email address. This is for physical auth tokens, so you can upload a CSV, and that file contains the secret keys for the OF token. So yeah, it's like a FIDO key, so etc. Phone call settings. So this is, you can customize verification phone calls. This is if you're using the phone method to authenticate. I personally don't recommend the phone as a best practice. Don't use it. It's not the most secure way to authenticate, and very old. I don't recommend it unless you can't get around, unless you have a user who doesn't have a smartphone and or text messaging. They only have a house phone. But yeah, I would not recommend using phone calls as an authentication method. But here are the settings if you need to do that. Again, providers, you can add a new provider, but adding a new provider is actually disabled since 2018, so you can't. So this is only for existing providers. So if you've not used this before, you're not like, I can't add any new users here. So as we go further down, again, this is manage multi-factor authentication for the server. So I mentioned the multi-factor authentication server, but again, this is no longer supported for new deployments. If you've got an existing server, you can still use this. So again, you can configure two-way text message timeout seconds here. You can configure one-time bypass here as well. So this is to allow users to authenticate without performing two-step verifications for a limited time. The bypass goes into effect immediately and expires after the specified number of seconds. These are caching rules. So you can set up caching rules so that consecutive authentications don't require two-step authentication. This feature only applies to MFA server deployments. And finally, it gives you the status of your server. I don't have one, so we'll probably see 0 in here. Yep, exactly. And the same reports, and you can do a troubleshoot and a support request here. So those are sort of the MFA settings that you can manage and configure. So that's that topic done. We're going to jump into the presentation again to see what the final topic is. Welcome back. Here we are in the Microsoft Entra Admin Center again for the final time in this episode, and we're looking at authentication methods within the protect and secure section. So on the first one, we have the policies. So you can use this policy to configure the authentication methods users may register and use. So here we have a list of the different methods. So we've got FIDO security, authenticator, SMS, temporary access pass, third-party auth token, voice call, email, one-time password, and certificate-based authentication. And what this tells us is here what's enabled. So in my tenant, I've enabled Authenticator app because that's what I use. Also email, one-time password. So these are the two that I use. And again, in my experience, voice call and SMS are probably the least secure, so I wouldn't use those. But probably the most secure is the FIDO security key, authenticator, and probably the certificate-based authentication, in my opinion. So I would recommend using one of those three, really. Obviously in conjunction with Windows Hello for Business. So we'll look at password protection. So within authentication methods, we can actually put up a password protection policy. So for custom smart lockout, so lockout threshold. So this is how many failed sign-ins are allowed on an account before it's first locked out. So I've got mine set to 10. Duration in seconds. So this is the minimum length in seconds each lockout. So if an account locks repeatedly, this duration increases. So increase 60 seconds each time. Custom banned passwords. You can enforce a custom list. You can essentially put in custom banned passwords. So you can have password 123, a whole list of passwords here. And then again here we have actually for more hybrid, we have password protection for Windows Server Active Directory. So we can enable password protection for Windows Server Directory. And again, we've got two different modes here. If set to enforce, users will be prevented from setting banned passwords and the attempt will be logged. If it's set to audit, the attempt will be logged only. So you can either stop people from doing it or audit it. I would say enforce it, if I'm honest. You really need to enforce it because what's the point with auditing? You're gonna have to look at it, whereas at least you can. If it's enforced, people are blocked from doing it, and then you can also look it up and say, okay, well, here's a list of who's trying to do it and what they've tried to do. Then we've got a registration campaign. Again, this is another option, so you can start a registration campaign that prompts users to set up more secure authentication methods. And again, we can edit the settings here to change the state, the days allowed to snooze, exclude users and groups, and again the different authentication methods as well. So I've got my Microsoft Authenticator app, even though it's disabled. The registration campaign is disabled. So we looked at authentication strengths earlier, and this is currently in preview. So you've got the different ones here, and we looked at MFA, password MFA, and passwordless MFA, and phishing resistant MFA. And we looked at the different authentication methods that are enabled. And here we've got finally the settings in authentication methods. So this is where you can configure reporting suspicious activity. This is currently in preview, and also system preferred multi-factor authentication as well, which is currently in preview. So for state, you can either enable or disable for report suspicious activity, or for system preferred multi-factor authentication, you can actually do Microsoft managed, which is this option allows Microsoft to manage whether this feature is enabled or disabled, or you can actually force enable or disablement of it. And again, you can target either all users or selective users. And as with most sort of the Azure AD stuff, you've got the monitoring ID down here where you can look at activity, registration details, registration and reset events, and also bulk operations as well. So that is the end of part 2 of the Protect and Secure topic. We've got one more section, so where we're going to look at password reset, custom attributes, and risky activities. And that'll complete what is probably the longest topic that we're going to cover in this series. So don't forget about the book giveaway. Just to reiterate, I'm giving away for this episode, I'm giving you a Simplifying Hybrid Cloud Adoption with AWS by Frankie Costanegro. This is the first edition as well, so I'm doing a packed book. So to be part of this giveaway and to enter the giveaway, you have to first be a subscriber, like and then comment on this video, hashtag IMITGeek. Finally, share this video on your socials, be it LinkedIn or Twitter, and put the hashtag IMITGeek when you share it. I will then pick a winner at random and I'll contact them to send them this book in the post. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Again, so far the feedback I'm getting and the people who are watching seem to enjoy it. So thank you again for watching, and until next time, goodbye.